Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. If it's Saturday, that means it is our weekly recap. We came to you from the Crime Talk studios early in the week, and now we're coming to you from south of the border. Look at that ocean. It is amazing. I love it. Anyway, watch the highlights throughout the week. I hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to watch the Derek Chauvin trial here. We are filming all of it from beginning to end. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week on Crime Talk.
The big news today, Derek Chauvin's trial has started. All right, what did the judge do first thing today? He dismissed that 15th juror. That was, remember, they had 3 alternates, but we got rid of 1 just in case we lost somebody over the long week. So our 20-year-old white male has been removed from the alternate list, so to speak. We have 12 jurors plus 2 alternates, and it started. The prosecutor in this case, I thought, did a very good job with his opening statement. Basically, everything you thought you were going to see. The prosecutor got up and stated that Derek Chauvin basically spit on the badge, to use his words, betrayed the badge and the principles that he was supposed to follow, which was to protect with courage, to serve with compassion. And that compassion included sanctity of life, and he basically fell short of that. The prosecutor basically played the 9-minute and 29-second video showing Derek Chauvin applying pressure to George Floyd. I'm not sure I would have done that in opening statement. I know that they're going to get to see it, they being the jurors, if they haven't seen it already. But if you play it too much, and just about every video witness that has come up has been that video, you can desensitize the jury to seeing something and being shocked by it. If you only play it once, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. But they're going to look at it so many times, after a while it's like, okay. But that's their call. Now the defense got up and said exactly what they were going to say, which was a little contrary to the prosecutor, right? The prosecutor also said that this was about Derek Chauvin strangling, being responsible, primarily responsible for the death of George Floyd. The defense got up and said, hey, you've got to look at more than 9 minutes and 29 seconds of video. You have to look at the totality of the circumstances. He went on to say that there's been hundreds of witnesses, thousands of pages of discovery turned over, and it's all relevant. And you have to look at it, and you just can't look at just the 9.5 minutes of video. The defense also highlighted the fact that Derek Chauvin was not responsible for George Floyd's death. Everybody acknowledged it. Even the prosecutor acknowledged it in opening statement. They acknowledged that George Floyd had an opioid addiction. They had to. They had to say, hey, the reasons why those fentanyl levels were so high is because he's had an opioid addiction for years. So don't be alarmed in any way. Yeah, sure, that's enough to kill somebody. But once you start getting addicted, you develop a tolerance for that. You also heard the defense say, hey, Chauvin has been doing what he was trained to do, and for everyone to sit back and play armchair quarterback is really not necessary. The defense also said that there's no evidence that Mr. Floyd's airflow was restricted, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they expect to have a witness, an expert witness, testify to that. Now, we only got through a couple of witnesses today before they basically had to cancel it. The judge said they had a major problem with the audio going out on YouTube today, and so they had to stop. Well, what's the big deal in that, Scott? Why do they have to stop? Since they're limiting the access into the courtroom, they have to be able to put it out to the public so that it is a public trial. So if it's not going out on live stream, they got to stop the whole show, so to speak. All right. We heard from the 911 dispatcher who basically received the call, was also able to look at the video and became quite concerned because she thought that the screen that she was watching had become frozen because nothing had moved. She contacted a supervisor at one point and even referred to herself as kind of a snitch, so to speak, but she thought that something was not correct. Then they also called a 23-year-old woman who was... Next, the police called a 23-year-old woman by the name of Alicia Oyler, Oyler. She worked at the Speedway convenience store across the street when the police were called on May 25th. She was the one that took the 7 video clips of police taking Floyd into custody. And the reason why she stated she did it is because she always sees the police messing with people, and it's wrong and it's not okay, the 23-year-old told the jury. The next witness, right before we got cut off, was a gentleman by the name of Donald Williams. He's 33 years old. He was on his way to Cup Foods on May 25th, and he heard George Floyd basically screaming or gasping for air. He also is a wrestling coach and had done some UFC-type fighting. And he's kind of a qualified expert here. I got to go back and watch his entire testimony, but he was allowed to basically give his experience in wrestling, what he referred to as a shimmy maneuver. And that shimmy maneuver was designed to cut off the airflow, as he described what former officer Chauvin was doing to George Floyd on May 25th when Floyd was moaning in agony, according to the witness. And that was when the feed went down and everything ended. So far, nobody's hit any big out-of-the-park hits, so to speak. Everything that we expected from the prosecutor. Derek Chauvin, bad. Killed George Floyd. Defense, George Floyd, bad. Derek Chauvin didn't kill George Floyd. The jury is going to have to be the one to decide what took place here, and did George Floyd die of asphyxiation at the hands of the officers, or did he die from ingesting fentanyl into his system when he realized that he was going to become arrested? It's going to be interesting. Those juries are going to have a tough job, but as the defense stated in their opening statements, there is no political or social cause in this courtroom. This is about the facts and the law. No political or social cause. That's what a courtroom is supposed to do. I saw a lot of comments going through saying this is the greatest civil rights case in America. No, it's not. It's a criminal case. Civil rights cases are going to take place in a civil courtroom. This is a criminal case. And I think we all need to remind ourselves, it's can the prosecution prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt? No political or social cause in a courtroom. Bottom line.
The Derek Chauvin trial. What happened? Well, we had Genevieve Hansen. She was the off-duty firefighter / EMT that was on the stand yesterday and got crosswise with the court as well as the defense attorney. Why? Because she wanted to volunteer information. You don't get to volunteer information. You only get to answer the question that you're asked. On cross-examination, Ms. Hansen explained that, yes, I didn't have my ID, and therefore she couldn't say for certain that she was an off-duty firefighter at EMT, which is why perhaps the officers rebuffed her assistance. Now, we also heard today from Christopher Martin. He is the young man who was working behind the counter and believed that George Floyd had attempted to pass a $20 bill from George Floyd. Now, the interesting thing was that there was a video that was played, and it's never been played before. Now, we've been putting this up all day, so you should be able to watch this. But you can see from inside the store, it shows that Floyd was acting restless, and he flipped through some bills before roaming the store, at times appeared to dance or stretch. The jurors, according to people in the courtroom, seemed rather riveted by the sight of Floyd, for sure. Now, after Martin sold Floyd a pack of cigarettes, he said he noticed the bill was likely a fake, similar in hue to a $100 bill, and he explained that the store's policy was to dock the employee's salary for the cost of the counterfeit bills they accepted. That's pretty common in most businesses. When Martin went outside with a coworker to get Floyd back into the store, Martin said Floyd seemed like he was awake, countering defense claims that Floyd was taking a nap. I saw people yelling and screaming, Martin said. of the commotion that developed outside the store once police arrived and he went outside. We also heard from Christopher Belfray, who went to Cup Foods on May 25th of 2020 and parked his red van on the corner of 38th in Chicago behind the blue SUV Mercedes-Benz that George Floyd sat in with two other people. Belfry said he saw two officers approach the vehicle in front of him, and one of them drew a handgun, pointed it, and opened the door at whomever was in the driver's seat. He said that he was startled by what he saw, and he began recording on his phone. He stopped when he saw the commotion, and he said that he stopped recording because he was slightly still scared and nervous. One of the officers was staring at him, like, "Why are you recording?" Belfry, who was in the car with his fiance, continued filming. The video exhibit plays without audio of the couple talking. The video shows Floyd, who appears handcuffed, sitting on the ground with his back to the restaurant Dragon Walk and two officers standing near him. Belfry then said that he ultimately saw the police officers placing Floyd in the back seat of the car and decided to leave and stop recording. Now you may ask yourself, why do they bring in all these people in? Because all of the video doesn't just come into court. The prosecution has to authenticate that it is a fair and accurate copy, or it is the original video that was taken that day, and the person that takes it has to authenticate that no changes have been made other than maybe shortened it, redactions made where the audio has been taken off. That's why a lot of people think, well, you just play the video, that's it, right? No, you have to bring in the person who brought the video to everybody's attention. Now, the other individual testified today was a gentleman by the name of Charles McMillan. Now, he's 61 years old. He witnessed George Floyd dying basically at the knee of former officer Chauvin. And Mr. McMillan testified that he had had interaction with Derek Chauvin in the neighborhood. And it was more than just a couple of days before the Floyd incident where he had interaction with Mr. Chauvin, where he said, hey, you want to go home to your family, let's let everybody go home safely as well. It was rather powerful. Mr. McMillan broke down when discussing it and watching the video. Very powerful stuff. This is the community. This is what the prosecution has to do. I've said this from the beginning. The worst problem for Derek Chauvin is that video, that smirk on the video that simply shows he just doesn't care. That's going to be his biggest problem. We'll continue to bring you updates on this, and I'm telling you, we're getting close. Maybe we'll have some medical people talk by the end of the week. Before we continue on with the docket, let's take a quick recess.
Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did.
Next on the docket, Leticia Stout writing letters. A letter from February 21st was released from Leticia Stout that she wrote to the court. And in this letter, this was a letter where she was asking that her counsel be dismissed. And if there's ever a reason why you should always have an attorney when you go to court, this is it. Because you say things that come across and sound stupid. Leticia Stout in one breath is saying, I have mental health issues. The defense team isn't getting the records that they need, but I'm fine now. Maybe I still have some ongoing mental health issues. This doesn't help in any way. Leticia Stout then goes on and says that the two men that are the real killers in this particular case are getting away because my defense team wouldn't go and get the video from various locations, and now that evidence is gone. And if they hadn't been focusing on mitigation, i.e. trying to save my life, then more than likely we would have this evidence and it would all show really that this is just a big misunderstanding. Leticia Stout also believes that her attorneys are in cahoots with the prosecutors and they somehow don't believe it's in her best interest to have a trial to the court. I totally agree. Why would you want the prosecution to only have to prove their case to one person, the court, versus 12 people? Clearly, you increase the chances of a not guilty or a hung jury if it's to 12 people versus one Leticia Stout. Leticia Stout also complains and says that the person who did the competency evaluation is clearly just an actress in cahoots and doesn't really understand what they're doing whatsoever. Probably because they didn't find her to be insane or not competent. So the reality of it is Leticia Stout is a hot mess at this particular point. She is doing nothing to help her case, only to hurt it. Are Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts back together again? Now, we all know Chris Watts. He's obviously serving a life sentence. He's never going to get out because he murdered his wife and 2 daughters. But it is reported that he is still in contact with his girlfriend that he killed his family to start a new life with back in 2018. Now, a fellow inmate, so you have to take this with a grain of salt, told the Daily Mail that Nicole Kessinger, who's changed her identity and disappeared, is following Watts' arrest and conviction and still writes him under a new name. Now, as you may recall, we tried to attend the name change hearing of Nicole Kessinger, but the court basically made it a private sealing, which is unbelievable in the state of Colorado, because the attorney said that there was going to be press there, i.e. Scott Reisch, who just wanted to lay out the facts. Apparently, somebody probably should have known what name Nicole Kessinger is probably writing Chris Watts under. I'm sure all of those letters are being examined, everything that comes in and everything that comes out. So this inmate says that Chris Watts told him that she needed to speak to him to clear some things up. Really? Wow. David Carter, that's the inmate, and he was released from prison in February, and he told the news outlet that he wouldn't tell me exactly what she said. And once again, for those of you who don't recall, Watts was having an affair at this time of the murders and telling investigators months after he was arrested and convicted, his girlfriend never asked him to get rid of his family, but their relationship may have contributed to his decision to kill his wife and daughters. Now, Nicole Kessinger has done everything to cancel herself and to drop off the face of society. She's very difficult to find. We found her, and we weren't going to dox her, but the reality of it is she has changed her name, but apparently just can't seem to get over that Chris Watts guy. Makes you almost think that maybe she has something on her mind, maybe something she'd like to tell the rest of the world. She always has an open invitation. All she has to do is contact Crime Talk. We'll give her an open forum, but we will ask the questions that everybody wants to know. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We will be back in the office, the Crime Talk studio, on Monday. Have a safe, wonderful weekend.